Well, good afternoon, everyone, or good morning, wherever you might be. Welcome to the Global Consortium of Entrepreneurship Center's Virtual Connections webinar series. Today, we're going to talk about integrating personal development into your entrepreneurship curriculum and programming. My name is Jeff Reed. I'm the founding director of the Georgetown University Entrepreneurship Initiative. And on behalf of GCEC, we're just excited to have you all here with us today. As you can see, I dressed up especially for today's webinar. It's just a really, really important part of my week and month. And it's also graduation day here at Georgetown. So I hope all of you are enjoying the end of your academic year, wherever you may be. GCEC, of course, is just an amazing way to stay connected to one another between the webinars, the awards program, the upcoming conference. There's a job board, a LinkedIn, all kinds of ways to stay connected to one another and learn from each other. We have hundreds of universities from all over the world who just love to collaborate on how we build our entrepreneurship programs. So if you're not already a member of GCEC, please join now. And we hope we'll see you at our future programming, whether it be virtual or our in-person conference coming up in October in Dallas. So today's program will feature four amazing colleagues from three amazing universities, and each one of them is going to have some time to talk about what they do in their particular university and their entrepreneurship program around integrating personal development. They each have a short slide deck, and they're going to give an overview. We'll have a little bit of Q&A, and at the end, we'll have an open discussion. We encourage our audience to put questions in the chat at any point during the program, and let us know how we can make this most valuable for you. So I will briefly introduce our panelists, and then I will turn it over to our first ones to present. With us today, we have Leslie Robinson, who is the director of the Kendra Scott Women's Entrepreneurial Leadership Institute at the University of Texas at Austin. So welcome, Leslie. From the University of Connecticut, the executive director of the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation is Jennifer Matthew, and her colleague, Rory McGloin, is the associate director and a professor at the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at UConn, our Big East friends and national champions, as it might be in men's basketball. And from Yale University, the senior managing director of the Sci Center for Innovative Thinking, Cassie Tucker. So welcome to all of our panelists. I am going to take down my slides, and I'm going to turn it over to Jennifer and Rory from the University of Connecticut to lead us off here. So over to you, Jennifer and Rory.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jennifer Matthew, the Executive Director of the Connecticut Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation at the University of Connecticut, needing to take multiple breaths in between that long title, as we all know. So I am so excited to be here today, and we presented this presentation at the GCEC conference in Vegas back in October, and we've received so much positive feedback from those that attended and from our friends at GCEC and said, you have to bring this to a larger audience. Let's pull together some of your other colleagues at other universities and talk about this very important topic, which is understanding how to integrate some of that founder first methodology into the programs and the curriculum that you're designing to better support your entrepreneurs and not just focus on the companies that they're bringing through your programs. So as I mentioned, I am an executive director of our center, but also I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneurship educator. I truly believe in supporting entrepreneurs through their journey and helping them grow professionally, personally, and helping them overcome many of the challenges that they're facing as they're launching and starting businesses of their own. And with me today, my colleague, Rory McGloin, who is part of our center and wears many hats at the university. But Rory, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I would love to. Humbled to be here amongst so many amazing individuals and colleagues. Thanks very much for your time. My name is Rory McGloin, a professor of business communication at UConn, but many other things, an entrepreneur, a communication consultant, and a training and development specialist. But aside from all of that, I really feel as if my purpose in life is to help others to tell their stories more effectively. Several years ago, I was humbled to join the team at CCEI under Jen's amazing leadership. And Jen and I would often have very thought-provoking conversations. And I found that the teams and the startups that came through CCEI, they often had incredible innovations, but they would sometimes struggle to communicate the value proposition of their innovation to the constituencies that needed the innovation so badly in their life. And I would say to Jen, we're not just developing businesses, we are developing entrepreneurs. In particular, of course, to me, their communication skills and their ability to convey their ideas and thoughts and emotions in a way that would move people to want to work with them, to buy their product, and to sustain greatness with them over time. And during one of my emphatic pleas to Jen, as often might happen, she raised a relatively thought-provocative question. And the question that Jen raised was quite simply, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? And it was this question that kicked off our fall GCEC presentation. And we bring it back to the forefront today as we talk about integrating the individual into the accelerator. So Jen.
And of course, yeah. And of course, like many of us have jobs because we believe we can build entrepreneurs, right, from the ground up and support those that maybe have some of those personality traits or experiences in their life environment that's given them the opportunity to flourish in entrepreneurship. Maybe their parents or their grandparents started a business and they kind of have caught that bug at an early age. But we believe it's a combination of both of those things, being born and made. And so we've thought about that as we've built out some of our curriculum and some of the tools that we've integrated into our overall programming.
So we love to ask the question of why. And we start with why here again today to ask, why does this matter? Why does this matter? Because ultimately, no one size fits all approach will ever be effective for your entrepreneurs or for your entrepreneurial programs. As Jen said, what we bring in with us is what our responsibility is to mold, to craft, to create, and to excel. And therefore, this matters to us, and it likely matters to all of you on the call today because you're trying to get it right. What's the balance? How do I harness the characteristics and skills that this person individually brings with them? And how do I help to create and craft programs that will accentuate some of the skills that they need the most?
I don't know what happens. Yeah, sorry, because the slides are not doing what I wanted it to do, but that's fine. There we go. So, the whole point of why this matters is, several years ago, traditionally our programs, we would have entrepreneurs apply with their business as the main focus, and they had to have a startup idea in place before they went through our programs. And we slowly shifted that to put the entrepreneur at the focus point of the application. So when they apply, they're not applying just with their company, but they're applying as an individual and trying to really cultivate that relationship with that person over time. And we saw students that would come back year over year with different ideas, right? And different, product lines as part of a company that they've built in previous programs. So that became the forefront, and the way in which we excelled with our programming was with that in mind.
So one of the things that's likely on the top of your mind right now is that if entrepreneurs are not just born, but they can be made, then what are some of the characteristics associated with entrepreneurs? So if you review the literature, you find many answers. And in a moment, Jen's going to show us a slide with many of those characteristics listed. But I just want to reemphasize the point of why this is important is recognizing that each individual that comes through your program is going to need something potentially just a little bit different. But they have to be relatively aware of what their successful characteristics are. They also have to be aware in some regards as to what skills or characteristics they may not have to allow them to build the most ideal team. So Jen, if you will, reveal some of these characteristics that we have found, and likely many of you would agree. And when we look at this list, right, you see skills like public speaking, but then we also see some of the characteristics of being motivated or being competitive. Right? Teaching somebody to become more competitive may not be as straightforward as teaching them the basic principles of being a great orator or public speaker. And we recognize that we have to build teams that are going to accentuate the skills that our entrepreneurs bring with them to our center every single day. And so I had mentioned this already, but our secret sauce over the last several years has really started with a process of self-awareness. And so we have integrated a wide variety of tools, everything from the entrepreneurial mindset profile to emotional intelligence, to spending time with other assessments, to spending time with peer group facilitation, to ensure that our entrepreneurs leave keenly aware of where they stand in regards to their skills and where they stand on their characteristics so that they can go forth building teams and building their business with what they have equipped with them today. I want to kind of leave you with this before I pass it back to Jen for some of our closing thoughts. Jim Collins talks about what it takes for a company to be great. And he talks about how companies that are great, they have 3 to 5 core values, and those core values never change. Well, if you agreed that entrepreneurs are bored, then today you came into the call thinking that that person walked into your accelerator with 3 or 4 or 5 core values that you would never change from them. Therefore, you become responsible to harness the best of those values to help them take those values and embed them into their business. And yet, for those of you who believe that entrepreneurs could be made, well, that's exactly what follows next, right? To understand that the values that drive that individual are also going to drive how they approach the development of those skills, and you can use that to your advantage as well.
So as we assessed our programs, we thought about the different buckets in programs, courses, accelerators, and how we put them together and how they serve different groups. So unlike academic courses that don't necessarily work with community entrepreneurs, our accelerator programs and incubator programs that extend out beyond the first year students. So maybe they come in and they're a part of our program at one point and they don't continue on with us over their 4 years. We really have to think about what type of programming we're offering to them that can be specific and individual to them, and how that translates across their time. When they're an undergraduate student and we get to see them in courses, then they come through a pitch competition and we have the opportunity to cultivate them over 4 years. That becomes a little bit different of a story. And we really think about how we plug them into other opportunities at the university and beyond. So we mapped out in these 6 buckets some of our programs that we very intentionally added in this type of programming. And we talked about in our session back in October how much we absolutely love the EMP, the Entrepreneurial Mindset Profile. And that is the framework for some of this work that we do at the early self-awareness in programs like our summer fellowship program, which is our startup accelerator. And we actually, hopefully, we'll see you all at GCEC in a few months, where hopefully our conference presentation proposal is accepted, where we're going to be talking a little bit about this topic, but expanding it beyond. So that's what I want to leave you with now. I know there's going to be tons of questions and all of that. So looking forward to being able to dive into some of this a little bit more.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer and Rory. It's a great way to lead off the topic. I think most of us in entrepreneurship education hear that question all the time, the question you led off with. Can you teach entrepreneurship? Are entrepreneurs born or made? So I appreciate the way you kind of teed that up. Hopefully, most of us agree that there's something we can do to impact the ability. But also, I think you pointed out this one of the fundamental misconceptions that a lot of us do, or maybe it's just a tension in what we do, right? There are a lot of natural tensions. And one of those is between, are we focused on startups or are we focused on students? And so can you tell me some of the ways that you guys do focus on the individual students and help them? What do you think has been most successful when you're trying to help these individuals, not just help them with their companies?
I mean, Jeff, for me, one of the things that we often do is we talk about facilitating feedback for pitches and proposals and how do you approach investors. And so right there at the very fundamental phase of like when you go forth to do a pitch, one of the things that we've actually almost taken out of the curriculum essentially for some of our higher level programs is this is what a pitch deck is, right? That this is what you should do. I think templates can be very dangerous for folks that are operating at a higher level, because we need to go forth thinking about what's the best thing for me to do? What's the best thing for me to say? How are audiences going to receive me? So that's just like one of the fundamental ways is that like we've tried to strip out a lot of like, kind of basic templates from our higher level programs to sit down, because we have the luxury of one-on-one mentoring, one-on-one office hours, one-on-one coaching, and go, all right, Jeff, here's who you are. This is how we think the audience is going to receive you. I want you to lead off with your call to action. I want you to lead off with your market compare, right? And so by doing that, we're freeing up the person to think about who am I and how will I be received, not what does everybody else do and how do I just do it like them?
Yeah, I think that's a great point. We see this all the time too. When you have students that join an entrepreneurial cohort, sometimes there is a sense that, okay, how do I be like everybody else? Or what's the formula that I should follow? We found that, yes, like you said, it's so much more powerful to start with who are you and why do you engage in this way, and what, to really give this person a chance to be themselves. So thanks for kind of teeing that up. I do encourage any of our attendees here, please feel free to type your questions in the chat, and we'll ask our friends from UConn to keep an eye there, and anybody else that wants to chime in on the chat. But at this point, we are going to move to our next panelist, Cassie Tucker from Yale University. Cassie, over to you.
Great. Everyone can see my screen? Great.
Yes.
Hi, everyone. My name is Cassie Tucker. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm Senior Managing Director of the Sci Center for Innovative Thinking at Yale. Sci-City's mission is to inspire students from diverse backgrounds and disciplines to seek innovative solutions to solve real-world problems. We serve the entire Yale student community, so undergraduates all the way to PhDs, and we welcome all disciplines, meaning we work with arts, humanities, science, business, engineers, you name it. We support these students. Because we work with such a large and wonderfully diverse group, we've developed a robust portfolio of work that supports the learning journeys of students in each of these 5 core pathways that you're seeing right here. And the common thread that is throughout every offering that we do is meeting students where they are and helping them develop as innovators. This really goes back to our mission, right? Which is to develop innovative thinkers, not just innovations. We take a pretty student-centric approach that we're talking about in all that we do, and we bring things for students in layers. So it's not just a one magical program, event, resource that helps them come along in their development, but layers of opportunities that they can engage at different points in their learning journey. And today I'm just going to throw 3 of the best practices that I'd like to highlight, but we do many, many more things, and I can talk about those at another time if folks are interested. But the top 3 are open and tailored workshops, facilitated moments of practice, and then mentorship. I'll start with our biggest layer, which of course is our co-curricular programming. Every year, we offer a large number of open workshops where any student at Yale can come to our center and spend 1 to 2 hours with us and learn a skill. The topics vary year to year, but some examples are defining your why, the art of negotiation, persuasive storytelling, and personal branding. Historically, these events are some of our most popular events and bring in the most diverse groups of students. I think that's a really important point to share in this community specifically. It's well known that women and underrepresented minorities oftentimes don't identify with the word entrepreneur. So they don't even think to come and engage with your center. By offering open, low barrier to entry events on broad topics that speak to a wider audience than just say entrepreneurs, we're able to engage students who might not walk through our doors otherwise. They come in, they learn a skill, they have a positive experience, they get hooked, they get curious, and they come back for more. In addition to our open events, we've built in leadership training and wellness practices into our entrepreneurship pathway, so specifically for our founders. On a regular basis, we talk about the power of reflection, persuasive storytelling. Again, Rory, you should like this theme going on. We also talk about building a network and leading teams. But we don't just talk about these topics. What's important in our strategy is we provide frequent opportunities for the students to actually practice and take the learnings they're taking out of these sessions and start building those professional muscles immediately. For example, each accelerator session opens up with a moment of reflection. How did you take what you learned from last week and applied it to developing your startup? How did that feel? What were your learnings? Did you achieve your goal? Yes or no? Why do you think that is? What were the approaches and skills that you used as a person to get there or miss the mark? We don't just talk about it's important for you to have a network. We get really tactical with the students and give them different tools to do that very important task, right, as a professional. How do you use the alumni feature in LinkedIn? How do you craft a precise and persuasive email, which is an art? And then we provide really welcoming and safe mentor events where students can start using these new networking skills live in the moment. We also talk openly about mental health. It's no secret that we are in a mental health crisis right now, and entrepreneurs are a particularly vulnerable population. It's important that we're teaching students to be aware of their mental state and giving them the tools to navigate that. So we have a twofold approach here. We invite founders, typically these are founders that have come through our programs previously, in a Ask Me Anything style event where they openly share that aspect of their entrepreneurial journey. But we also bring in wellness practitioners who teach students the signs of burnout, as well as give them the tools and resources to manage their stress and build a resilience, which is so important in this journey. The second layer that we offer is mentorship. This spring, we launched a personal coaching track within all of our venture development programs. So students have the opportunity not only to develop their venture, but simultaneously develop themselves as an individual. The purpose was for students to create awareness of what comes naturally, what's their superpower, and also discover what else can they learn. They start with the EMP assessment, which Jen and Rory talked about before. Once they take the assessment, they sit down with our director of networks, Victor Padilla-Taylor. Shout out to Victor, he's on the call. They unpack the report and talk about any insights they can draw from there. Then they set 2 to 3 goals for the rest of the semester that are based on developing that founder as a person. Victor then matches them with a certified coach in our mentor network, and they meet on a monthly basis to work towards those goals. We also have a suite of one-on-one mentorship opportunities for students to engage in. As I mentioned, we work with students undergrad through PhD. So there's a large group of students who, before even coming to Yale, have developed a wealth of life and professional experiences. And they're eager to connect with the next generation of leaders and share their learnings and best practices. So we've created a few programs specifically to make those connections happen. Additionally, we connect students with the 500+ wonderful mentors in our network, as well as the Sci-City team. Typically, these interactions are centered around helping the student work through an idea or develop their venture, but inevitably, these conversations go towards the how do I develop as an individual, as a professional, as a person in this world. It's important to think about how we use mentorship, not just because it's proven. Mentorship is really impactful on the trajectory of individuals' personal and professional development. But for here at Yale, at least, consistently, we have students asking for and seeking individualized and custom programming for very, very unique experiences. And one-on-one mentorship is how we're able to deliver oftentimes that experience for them. And by using not only the Sci-City team, but also our wonderful mentors and these fabulous peer students, we're able to deliver it to our students at scale. That's it for me today. I'm happy to answer questions in the chat or after the event as well.
Thank you, Cassie. A lot of great stuff there. There's a bunch of things I'd love to unpack. I don't know that I'll do all these, but I guess one question you mentioned and you described at the end, these a lot of different types of people who are helping give one-on-one attention to students. And one of the things that I've seen is sometimes the person who can give the best advice around a business idea or how to grow a company might not be the same person who's good at doing personal coaching, like understanding where this person is and where they might want to go. How do you guys manage that difference? And are there certain types of people that you tap to do the different roles?
That is a great point. And most definitely, yes, that's something that we found as well. Our director of networks, Victor Padilla-Taylor, Victor, feel free to chime in on the chat there if you'd like, has developed a way to onboard mentors to understand what their strengths are. You know, are they really most skilled at coaching individual or professional development? Or are they really focused on specific ventures or industries and can be most helpful for students that way? So that's how we've navigated specifically those, the mentor network. For the peer mentoring programs, they go through trainings through us on how to coach and mentor students. So we help facilitate those interactions, and we do our best. It's through an application process, and there's interviews involved and things like that. So we do our best to identify the best coaches and mentors at that point.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I know one thing we've done, we have a certification for professional coaches through Georgetown University, and we tap those students or recent graduates as part of our program. But sometimes there's a cost attached to that where you have to, you know, maybe pay a professional coach. So we haven't been able to scale it as much as we might like. There are some good questions coming through in the chat. I know one here from Sonia is for Cassie. Are the students you're working with, particularly art students, working on for-profit or not-for-profit types of ventures, and do you tailor your programs to those different sectors?
Such a great question. I could spend a whole hour on this. We see it all. Art students are some of our most innovative and creative entrepreneurs in our community. We have supported both for-profit and nonprofit organizations that are developing, as well as social movements and other initiatives that they're looking to scale into the world. They have been supported. So we specifically have a creative pathway. So if you go on our website, city.yale.edu, you can check out our pathways and pop up the creative pathway in particular. They have a series of resources and programs that are tailored specific to those who are creative innovators, but they also feed into other pathways and they're meant to overlap. So a lot of the programming resources, especially when it comes to developing a for-profit or nonprofit, are also seen in the entrepreneur pathway. And we purposely put these people in the room together because diversity, we are stronger together, and having different schools of thoughts and different backgrounds is when the magic really happens.
Awesome. Thanks so much. I know we've seen a big shift of, you know, in the last 15 years. We used to have some students interested in social entrepreneurship, and the question was always, what do we call the other ones? Are they antisocial entrepreneurs or what? So we've actually seen most of our students don't understand the difference. They think every business should have some positive impact in the world, and we love that. So anyway, thank you for sharing that, and we will move on next to our next panelist. I do appreciate there's a lot of activity in the chat now, so Cassie, some of those are directly for you, so maybe you can dive in there. While we're going to turn over now to Leslie Robinson, last but not least, from the University of Texas at Austin. Over to you, Leslie. Leslie, you are muted.
Sorry, are we seeing my screen, y'all?
Yes.
Now? All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Robinson. I'm the founding director of the Kendra Scott Women's Entrepreneurship Institute at the University of Texas at Austin. So I think I say hook 'em now. I'm so happy to have on the call also two key people part of the program that I'm going to talk about the course. We have Vaishali Jahab, who is the co-creator of the course and co-facilitator, and then also Sydney Key, who is a student intern and also TA for the course, and our upcoming student board president. So happy that they're on the call to tell you a little bit about the promising practices that we're seeing in the KSLE, what we call the Kendra Scott Women's Entrepreneurship Institute for short, and a course that we've now run over 3 semesters. So promising practices, if you will. If KSLE had a birthday, it would be September 24th, 2019. So founded really in COVID with a mission to strengthen the next generation of courageous and creative women leaders that will take the world by the horns, as I like to say. And then really got clear on our vision, our why, our purpose in the last year to create space and resources for creatives, leaders, and founders to become a community of empowered and equipped visionaries that embrace entrepreneurial leadership from a woman's perspective. And I say these two out loud because this has been our North Star and really what we've been teaching at the foundation of KSLE. And I love that we were also founded as an entrepreneurial leadership institute. So we very much get to focus on the founder, and we do that in a lot of different ways. So co-curricularly and curricularly, but we're really proud of the impact that we've had in the past 3 years to really provide seed grant funding towards women-owned, women-led businesses, and to also equip about 4,500 women with programming and coursework that comes from a woman's perspective, as well as through our founder program, support 66 women-led startups, and that has equaled 95 founders. And then also this past January with a really clear mission and purpose, and being purpose-driven leaders and teaching that to our students to win the United Nations Global Purpose Award. So specifically, as I mentioned, we really have the thesis to be founder focused. And so we've done that really in 6 different ways by redefining, building community, empowering, equipping, representing what a founder looks like. And one of the big takeaways has been that representation piece. And if you can see her, you can be her, and especially near peers that are starting businesses. Challenging the barriers that women face, but also really going from a growth mindset perspective of the strengths that women bring to business. That is actually critical, I think, to change the mindset around the narrative of the challenges women face. And then obviously we exist to grow and support the number of women-owned and women-led businesses. So the course that I'm going to teach or tell you about that I co-teach is called Entrepreneurial Leadership. As I mentioned, we have just wrapped up our 3rd semester, and we started slow. So this has been a slow ramp up, but over those 3 semesters have had 44 students take the course, including 2 dudes, which has been really exciting to also have a perspective. But how it started in the origin point is really seeing the need at such an early stage with the foundation of KSLE for students to see entrepreneurship for themselves. And so I completely agree with Cassie about saying founder and being more approachable, but really also starting with the strengths that entrepreneurials bring when starting businesses and building strong teams, their values, and also really digging into their blind spots. So we created a course that does exactly that. And so, if you will, it's been a passion project and a legacy piece of mine, and it's been really, really one of the highlights of KSLE. So what we do is we ask ourselves kind of about this leadership journey. So what does that look like, and how can we really journey map this over a semester? So what we did with the student learning objectives is really kind of think about what we can do in those 13 weeks together as a team, as a class. And that has equaled a framework where students will be able to now have a narrative on who they are as a leader. We call it a personal pitch. You've got your business pitch, but also this is pitching yourself on a LinkedIn profile, in a resume, in a cover letter to a potential investor. So something that you can use in multiple applications that's really then going to sell yourself as a founder, and that you can grow and evolve as you go. So I'm going to give a little plug that I hope that our session gets selected for GCEC, and we'll go much more in depth on the framework of the class. But the leadership profile is really focused on these 6 questions. So as I mentioned, your strengths, the impact you'll have, the blind spot, and the culmination is that you have a personal leadership philosophy that then you're able to use in multiple ways, as I mentioned. But I think, for us, and really thinking about the characteristics of what makes an entrepreneurial leader, these are the ones that we have come up with our class. These are what we've been told that students view as entrepreneurial leaders. And so this is kind of also how we've been able to structure the learnings in the class, is through these different bullets. And I will share these slides. I'm going to just say right now, I will share the slides. But we look at entrepreneurial leadership competencies according to these 8 different competencies, and especially words that are associated. And we have seen from the research, we've seen through assessments, the ones that women feel like they don't naturally have. So we've really actually focused the coursework in on being able to take risks, being future focused, and then also building confidence, because we know that those are 3 that women tend to not naturally have. So that tends to be a little bit more of where we really invest and dive in. But we do that through 8 different assessments. So everybody on this call has mentioned entrepreneurial mindset profiles. So I think that's great, trending topic. But also we do Clifton strengths. Some students have taken it, some haven't. We do the Enneagram, and students absolutely love the Enneagram and really using it as a data point to see where the themes are between Clifton strengths and entrepreneurial mindset profile. We do self-sabotage, 5 languages of appreciation, which is a take on the 5 love languages. And then we do a pre and post course assessment. And that pre and post course assessment has been critical for us to really find our learnings and where we're making impact in what we're teaching. So the course is divided in terms of content on Tuesday and guest lectures on Thursday, and then really bringing in the perspective of how entrepreneurial leaders in the community are leading in a way that then students can identify with and from all different backgrounds. And so that has also been a really high key learning for us, is bringing that perspective into the classroom. So the course design is actually based off of those entrepreneurial leadership traits I mentioned, and then we have mapped them geekily with the Clifton strengths to their associated strengths that are oftentimes related to entrepreneurs. And then we build out each of the themes of the course based off of those associated strengths. So this is kind of an example of how that mapping has looked. And then that has given us really nice themes or buckets for each of the 13 weeks that we have with students. And then one thing that we love is that we really teach from purpose-driven, value-driven, and creating leaders that reflect that. And so Ikigai has been the textbook throughout the entire semester. And really, we even incorporated a journal this semester where students went through a journaling exercise for the entire semester. And if you don't know Ikigai, I highly recommend it. But it's really the intersection of what you love, what the world needs, what you can be paid for, and what you're good at. And we find, in terms of the starting with the why, what your purpose is, what that North Star is, Ikigai has been a student fan favorite to really go through that in such an intentional way. And this one's going to stay. We had another book that we were teaching on, but the students actually really related with Ikigai, and I think also love the global perspective that it brought into the class. I see Rory nodding because we geeked out on Ikigai, I think, at a previous conference. And so this is fresh off the presses. So thank you, Sydney Key, for putting this together. But one of the takeaways is definitely doing a pre and post assessment. And so I created my own, and we were able to implement it at the very first semester, day one, that we've taught this curriculum. But what we've really seen is that in every area of what we define as entrepreneurship competency, it has gone up, but especially in the three that I had an inkling, a hypothesis on, which was for women, ability to take risks, ability to be future focused, and then increase confidence. And so it's been really nice to see that also increase over the 3 semesters that we've been able to teach this course. So here's just a little bit of a highlight of some of the promising practices that we're seeing, and really then I think we're gonna keep investing and diving into. But with that, I just wanted to say the last promising practice that we've learned is figuring out more applicable ways that students can use their leadership philosophy picks. So we have class assignments that then go into our Embolden blog. We have them use it on their LinkedIn profile. We have them use it as a video so that they can learn how they see themselves. And so it gets multiple applications, and they can see how that evolves or what audience to use that pitch for. And I think that that's been really helpful for them to see the practicality of what they're learning in the classroom as well. So for example, this is someone who had a class assignment and then was able to put that in a blog, was able to reshare that on LinkedIn, was able to use that as a portfolio piece. And that has been really, I think, a huge critical takeaway from how we've approached the class. And then lastly, I'll just say we incorporate in our program outside of the course a Build Her Leadership program that's for our student board so that they can have personal and professional development as part of the case study. And that is led by Vaishali, and this has been really where students have engaged and invested in KSLA their time because of seeing that investment that we're putting into them as the next generation of courageous and creative women leaders, and then also a philanthropic piece to our program so that there's that give back that's naturally baked into any interaction that you're having with KSLA. So we call that the Helper Program. And just as we were founded by Kendra Scott, one of our great philanthropists here in Austin, we naturally have that give back impact to community part of what we're doing as well. So I will end there.
Wow. Leslie, thank you so much. Some really impressive results. I really like the way you're measuring impact there. Congrats on what you're doing. It seems like you've been at it for a long time, but I think you told us it's been what, maybe 4 years. So congrats on all that you're doing there. I guess my first question is, how how do you find the students that are a part of your program? Is this, yeah, I guess that's the key question. UT is a huge university. How do the women in your program find you? And do you have to do special marketing, and how is it connected to other entrepreneurial programs at the university there?
Yeah, UT has 130 plus entrepreneurship things on campus. I'm seeing some of our eco partners on this call, ecosystem partners. So howdy to y'all, hook 'em. But really, I think where we obviously have found our gap and our niche on campus is the gender lens, of course, but then also being entrepreneurial leadership focused and really being specific on the founder and saying it's not about the business. Like, we will pipeline, handshake, high five you into the resources on campus. But I have to say it's the community. We've really created a strong community where people feel like they can be their authentic self. We teach about psychological safety. We really create the community, and that has been, out of our core pillars of empowering, equipping, and building community, the critical piece. And I think that's because as much as we can be student run and student led, we are. So we're a leadership institute. So our second finding over the last 3 years is that we are for students and by students. And so students are the voice of KSLE, and then really get to put that on their resumes. And it helps when Dell Technologies, our sponsor, and Kendra Scott are recruiting from our program, because they know what that curriculum and that graduate is coming from.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing all that. I know that some folks are asking for your slides, so, and you had,
yes.
you had up, so
I know I went through them fast, so many bullets, but there's such good stuff, and I'm happy to share it. All promising practices. We are for increasing the number of women-owned, women-led businesses, and want to share that out loud.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, Leslie. And I also want to just acknowledge you're doing this from a coffee shop, I think you told us earlier. So, and you got through it really well. We really appreciate it.
I'm so nervous. I'm on vacation, but I love the topic so much. So happy to share what we're doing.
Awesome.
And shout out to Vaishali.
All right. Just a couple of quick programming notes. People are asking about all the slide decks, so I'll give our panelists a chance to chime in either in the chat, maybe in the chat. Tell them if you're going to share your slides. And I believe what we often do is we share the video and links to the slides all on the GCEC website after the program. So as long as the panelists share their slides with Nadine and Holly at GCEC, I believe they will be posted to the GCEC website. Somebody correct me if that's wrong, but we appreciate that. And we're getting close to the end, so I'm going to go back to each of our panelists and ask if there's one thing that we haven't talked about yet that would be something you think other schools can learn from. Like, what is something that you've done around this topic that you think might be a great thing for other schools to learn from? And we'll go through the same order with UConn, Yale, and then Texas. So Rory and Jennifer, is there one kind of last note or last tip that you want to share?
Jen?
I'm going to plug you, Rory, on this one. I think one of our best decisions that we made 3 or 4 years ago was to bring entrepreneurial communications into the center and put that as a focal point of what we do. That has been tremendous. And I've seen significant growth in our entrepreneurs and their ability to articulate their value and their products' values, worth in society. But also I've seen them develop so much as an individual, becoming more confident, their ability to connect back with their why and understanding their values. And it's been tremendous. So I think entrepreneurial communications should be the framework that all entrepreneurship centers operate from, in my opinion.
Thanks. Cassie.
Such a good question. I think I would just do another plug or double click, as we say here, about keeping as a student-centric organization. We're all at universities. We're all a part of that student experience. And if we keep the students as our North Star, we'll inevitably develop and give them programs and resources to help them on their journey successfully.
Thanks, Cassie. And Leslie, any kind of last tips that maybe you want to highlight here?
Just threw mine in the chat, but really the power of a pre-post assessment and starting that as early as possible. I didn't know about entrepreneurial mindset profile, so I just went through it this last semester and have incorporated that. And I really think that that's a great starting point.
Awesome. Well, thank you to all our panelists. I think this is a great topic. I think it illustrates one of the challenges that I've seen over a long time is that a lot of our audiences expect us to talk and brag about the startups that come out of our programs. And many of us are guilty of highlighting and spotlighting the startups so frequently. But in reality, a lot of what we're doing, and maybe most importantly, is helping these young people develop into future entrepreneurs and people that can do better things. So thanks for kind of really the work you guys are doing and for spotlighting your programs. Thank you to Leslie, Jennifer, Rory, and Cassie. And I did hear some plugs for GCEC conference presentations from our presenters. And on that note, I am going to turn over at this point to our wonderful GCEC director. If for those who might not know, GCEC took a huge step in the last year by bringing on full-time an amazing leader, and formerly from the University of Maryland, now our GCEC, I was going to say queen. I'm not sure that that's appropriate.
That's not right.
I'll just say our wonderful leader. So over to you, Holly.
Yes, I take Jeff everywhere with me to do my intros, but like Jeff said, I am rather new to the executive director role. So thank you to Jeff for always moderating these, and to our panelists today. And what you saw today was, like Jennifer said at the outset, it was an idea that came out of the conference. You know, Jennifer and Rory did a rock star session at our conference, and we said we can't just let this lie another year. Let's do it. Let's cover this in virtual connections. So that's what we're trying to do at the GCEC: serve you all year round, not just at the conference. But in the chat, I put 2 important deadlines that I want to share with you before we leave. If you do want to put together a panel, a workshop, or a presentation on your work, the deadline to do that for the 2023 conference is May 31. So I put the link there that has all the tracks. It has all the details on how to submit. The other deadline that happens this summer for the annual conference is the awards. And this is a great way to showcase your work. If you feel that your center or your unit is leading in an area, we have 9 different tracks for you to choose from. So I encourage you now to start thinking about and taking action about our fall conference that's set for October 5th through the 7th. So that's my plug. Check out the links in the chat. And then thanks again to Jeff and the panel, and our unsung hero, Nadine Bentis, who always helps us get organized for monthly virtual connections. So thank you to everyone.
Awesome. And, you know, just so everybody knows, we're not going to do a webinar in June, but mark your calendar for July 28th. So we'll see you all back here online July 28th, and we'll see you in October in Dallas. Thanks.